Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Sunnyhill and our first in-person worship service since March 8th of 2020. That's more than 15 months ago. Can't believe it. It's also Pride Sunday, so there's a lot to celebrate today, and we're delighted that so many of you could join us for this service. Whether you're here in person or watching online, thanks for being here. Our mission here at Sunnyhill is to create a more just and compassionate community within and beyond our walls. My name is Krista Stanley, and I serve as a worship associate for this congregation. If you're a newcomer to our congregation, we encourage you to seek out our welcome table and our membership coordinator, Bethany Thornton. Bethany, can you wave so everyone knows who you are? Oh, she's back there. She's giving a big wave. So if you're new and you'd like to learn more about Sunnyhill, go check out the welcome table with Bethany. She can answer any questions you might have and can add you to our weekly newsletter email list so you can keep up with what's been going on here at Sunnyhill. There she is. A gentle reminder to everyone, if you have cell phones or other electronic devices, please silence those now so our time together will not be disrupted by buzzing or ringing. And we do appreciate your willingness to wear masks today while you're on the grounds to protect our children and others who may not yet be able to be vaccinated at this time. So thank you. Our opening words were written by Hannah Roberts Villeneuve. People sometimes ask, is Pride a protest or a party? And the answer is, of course, both. And why not? Why not? Why not rejoice as we resist, dance as we demand change, celebrate as we create community that delights in all of who we are? So bring all of that with you this morning. Bring your policy demands, bring your glitter, bring your broken hearts, bring your rainbow socks, bring the emptiness you feel for our siblings gone too soon. Bring your Gloria Estefan remix, bring your tender hope for change, bring your most garish eyeshadow, bring your spirit tattered and battered by a world that seems insistent on choosing fear and hate. Gather up all these things and bring them here to a place where we don't have to shoulder these burdens or celebrate these joys alone. Come, let us worship together.
Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever Good morning. It is good to be together today. I'll take an amen on that if anybody's got one. Amen. We'll light our chalice with a responsive reading. So after each line that I read, please respond by saying, "We light this flame." For those who live their lives in closets of shame, we light this flame. For those who furtively visited the bars where nobody knew your name, we light this flame. For the Stonewall uprising and the fierce trans women who fought there, we light this flame. For all those still struggling, still fighting, we light this flame. For all our siblings of the rainbow, with pride, we light this flame.
Please join us in singing our first hymn, "There's a River Flowing in My Soul." You'll know this, so you'll know it by the end. so it's okay if you don't have words in front of you. Also, a little note, it's really hard to sing in a mask. I mean, the choir's been practicing in masks anytime we could get together in person. So a little pro tip, sing very quietly. It helps so you're not gasping for air. And even if you just want to hum along, that can be more comfortable. Thank you for being safe.
Good morning, friends. My name is Jen McLaughlin, and I'm the Director of Religious Education here at Sunnyhill, and I use the she, her pronouns, and this is my friend Ari.
My name is Ari, and I use she, her pronouns.
Today we're going to tell the story Julian is a Mermaid by Jessica Love. I'm going to share the words that are printed in the book, and Ms. Ari is going to describe what is in the pictures for us. Julian is a mermaid. This is a boy named Julian, and this is his abuela, and those are some mermaids.
On this page, Julian is on the train with his abuela.
Julian loves mermaids.
Here, Julian's looking at dazzling mermaids, admiring their beauty. As he is thinking about his book, he is imagining slipping into the water. He is taking off his shirt and shorts, looking at the fish swimming close to him. A bunch of sea creatures swirl past his body and surprise him. Julian is shocked that he has a tail, and he is swirling around to test it out. Then Julian sees a large...
Microphone's back. You want to come share with me over here? Actually, I love that. Hello. Yeah, we're good.
Then Julian sees a large, detailed blue fish swim up to him.
Vámonos, mijo. This is our stop.
Julian's abuela is tapping his shoulder, awakening him from his daydreaming and imagining. As Julian and abuela leave, they turn and wave goodbye to the dazzling mermaids. Here there are young children playing in the bursting fire hydrant on the sidewalk near Julian and abuela.
Abuela, did you see the mermaids? I saw them, mijo.
Julian and his grandma continue to walk as they pass a man holding a petite dog.
Abuela, I'm also a mermaid.
Abuela and Julian are unlocking the peach-colored front door.
I'm going to take a bath. You be good.
Julian stands by an end table while his abuela leaves the room. He is underneath a hanging plant, and the lacy curtains blow in the breeze next to him.
Julian has a good idea.
Julian starts to remove his clothes. Julian picks the fronds off the fern plant and places them on his head like long hair. He adds flowers to the plant hair. Then Julian climbs on the small table to look in the mirror. Julian admires himself and puts on lipstick. Julian gazes at the lace curtains, thinking about how he could use them to make a mermaid tail. Julian blows out the curtains and ties them around his waist like a mermaid tail. He lifts up one arm and poses happily with his eyes closed.
Oh?
Julian's abuela comes out of the bathroom with a towel wrapped around herself and does not look happy. Julian looks worried.
Uh-oh.
Julian's plant hair droops, and he has a worried, sad look on his face as his abuela leaves the room. Here, Julian crosses his arms, looks at his tail, then gazes in the mirror.
Come here, mijo.
Julian turns as his abuela comes back into the room. She is wearing a blue dress and light blue and orange headscarf. She is holding something behind her back for Julian.
For me, abuela? For you, Julian.
Abuela gives Julian a beautiful necklace. Abuela and Julian leave their house holding hands and smiling at each other as they walk down the front steps. Abuela is holding a paper umbrella, and Julian is wearing the mermaid outfit.
Where are we going?
Julian and Abuela are walking down the sidewalk along the brick wall as they pass a man with two dogs. There are also two women in bathing suits drinking out of cups with straws, and they are leaning against the brick wall.
You'll see, says abuela. Mermaids, whispers Julian.
Julian is seeing all different types of mermaids and sea creatures, like lobster, jellyfish, octopus, and more.
Like you, mijo. Let's join them.
Julian peeks around the corner at all of the people in their amazing, colorful clothes. His abuela reaches out her hand to invite him over to the crowd.
And they do.
Julian and abuela join the parade on the beach.
The end.
wanna see 'em dancing, strolling along on the, what do you call 'em? Oh, feet. Flipping your fins, you don't get too far. Legs are required for jumping, dancing, strolling along down the, what's that word again? Street. Up where they walk, up where they run, up where they stay all day in the sun, wandering free. Wish I could be part of that world. What would I give if I could live out of these waters? What would I pay to spend a day warm on the sand? Betcha on land, they understand that they don't reprimand their daughters. Bright young women, sick of swimming, ready to stand. I'm ready to know what the people know. Ask some of my questions and get some answers. What's a fire and why does it, what's the word? Burn. When's it my turn? When I love to explore the shore up above, out of the sea. Wish I could be part of that
Thank you, Casey. That was just beautiful. Each week at this time in our service, we share joys and sorrows submitted by members of the congregation. We share both the things that we are celebrating and the things that we are mourning so that they do not need to be held alone. Joys and sorrows may be submitted online from our website, or you can submit them by contacting me or a member of our staff or pastoral care team by phone or email. After each joy or sorrow that I read, please respond by saying, "We hold you in our hearts." Mixed sorrow and joy from Wendy Bell and Michaeline Stabile, who are here today. I don't know if there are any updates on this or not. Is it still the same with your... Okay. They say one of the constant joys in our lives over the last 12 years has been our 14-year-old miniature dachshund, Penny. She was recently diagnosed with pulmonary hypertension, which is a progressive condition. The prognosis is not good, but at least we'll be able to give her a proper and comfortable goodbye when the time comes. We will treasure every moment. To Wendy and Michaeline, we hold you in our hearts. A joy from John and Judy Graham. John says, pleased and grateful to have Judy back home after a week in the hospital. She has been on IV antibiotic treatment at home for an infection at the site of a 3-year-old back surgery. We thank all who expressed love and concern. To John and Judy, we hold you in our hearts. A couple of other joys that I'd like to share off the cuff. One is last night's service auction was a great success. Thank you to everyone who participated. Thank you to the service auction team, and in particular Nanette Miller, who has just worked like crazy. So thank you, Nanette. Thank you, Jen, for being our technology queen once again. And I'm not going to try to name everybody because I'm sure I'll leave people out, but thank you to everyone who helped. It was just a joyous event and really, really nice. I also want to thank the crew that helped construct this platform that I'm standing on today. Our Tuesday morning facilities work crew put this together from scratch and painted it and got it all ready to go this Sunday. And I also want to thank all the people that helped set up tents and chairs, and thank all of you who will help us put away the tents and chairs when we're done in advance. So thank you so much to all. To everyone, we hold you in our hearts. Please join me in the spirit of meditation or prayer. Let us take this moment and hold it together without the need to hurry on too quickly, without the desire to get on to whatever is next, without our prognostications about our future or our belabored postmortems of our past, without angst or anger, without anxiety or apprehension, without worrying or wallowing, not denying hard truths, but not getting lost in those truths either. Let us take this moment and in silence breathe in the love of just now. There is wisdom in this moment if we are open to it. There is a gateway in this moment that leads to more justice, more compassion. There is a way of being here together that burns away fear, that allows our souls to soar, that causes our hearts to sing. May we be open to the wisdom of this moment and each moment of our lives. Amen. The song that Mary and I are about to sing, How Could Anyone Ever Tell You, by Libby Roderick, has been used in a lot of different situations and purposes to bring inspiration and affirmation to people struggling with pretty much every imaginable challenge and to celebrate the beauty of human beings everywhere. AIDS orphans in Zambia keeping their spirits high, Latina mothers initiating their daughters into adulthood, gay activists affirming their inherent worth, children with disabilities at summer camp honoring their wholeness, men in prison making peace with their past. These groups and thousands more have made the song their own and used it to inspire powerful action on behalf of our shared humanity. This reading, titled On a Holy Night in 1969, was written by transgender UU minister Otto O'Connor and describes the roots of pride in the Stonewall Uprising and how it was that trans women of color were largely responsible for the start of the LGBTQ plus liberation movement. On a holy night in 1969, in a bar called the Stonewall Inn, a basement which had no running water nor safe fire exits, queer people of many colors and kinds danced together, for it was the only place where they were allowed to dance, at least permitted to, by the mafia who ran the inn. In those days, it was common for the police to frequent this inn, not to join in the dance, the underground celebration, but to send the dancers home and make arrests. When they would arrive, the lights would go on, the people would be lined up, and then all those in drag, all those who were trans, all those without proper identification, they were arrested and taken into custody. But on this holy night, that early morning of June 28, 1969, the people said, "Not tonight." As they called to them to line up, the trans women refused to go, and as the police began to beat and arrest them, and as the people spilled out from the bar onto the street, Christopher Street, a crowd grew to watch, and then the trans women, lesbians, and gay men, as they were getting arrested, a yell came from the crowd, "Gay power." And as a trans woman was shoved, she shoved back, and the crowd began throwing bottles at the police wagon, and suddenly it erupted. For once, the people didn't line up. For once, the people said, "No more, we've had enough." It was almost as if that night, being pulled out of the darkness of the underground at Stonewall Inn one too many times, they said, "I'm ready to be seen." On this holy night, when the power of the oppressed rippled through the streets of New York, when queer people said, "No more," after that night, our world would never be the same. 50 years ago, it was illegal to be gay, to be trans, to dance and to love and to celebrate. And now, just over 50 years later, here we are celebrating at a church. Gay and straight together, queer and straight together, trans and cis together, all in this together. And so, as we remember these stories of life and love and defiance and celebration, let us also remember and pay tribute to the movement's ancestors, many of them trans women of color who led the first rebellion that night. You see, Pride is a celebration of that anniversary, the anniversary of that riot at the Stonewall Inn in New York City, a holy night. So happy Pride, welcome to this joyful celebration. Bring your whole selves, your gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, queer selves, your drag queen, butch and femme, cross-dressing, nail painting, tutu-wearing selves, your genderqueer, gender fluid, agender, pansexual, quilt bag selves, and all the other identities that are and will be. And let's have a celebration, because joy is a rebellion too. And this church is queer and fabulous.
Amen.
That reading again was by Otto O'Connor, called On a Holy Night in 1969. It's important for us to remember as we celebrate Pride that it was and is both a celebration and a liberation movement, a party and an uprising rolled into one. It's a time to look back with gratitude to some of the early leaders of the movement, to commemorate the progress that has been made, to mourn the loss of many lives over the course of the past 50 plus years, and to look at what still needs to be done, for the work of LGBTQ liberation is far from over. When we celebrate Pride in a religious context, I believe it is also important to acknowledge that organized religion has been the source of a lot of hatred and harm toward LGBTQ people. It is shameful that so many Christians have turned their backs on the loving, liberating, core message of the Gospels in order to become hate mongers and self-appointed persecutors of anyone who is not a straight cisgender person. And let's be clear, it's not fair for anti-LGBTQ bigots to hide behind the Bible. The first time the word homosexual appeared in a Bible was in a translation from 1946. So the phenomenon of using the Bible as an excuse to hate homosexuals is relatively recent and entirely unjustified. There are more than 2,000 verses in the Bible on the evils of greed and the obsession with money and earthly goods. There are 6 verses, that have been pointed to as condemning homosexuality. But each of these 6 verses, examined more closely, can be seen as mistranslations or misinterpretations of the original text. And for Christians, for whom the words of Jesus are of utmost importance, it's interesting to consider how many times Jesus condemned homosexuality in the Bible. 0. No times. In fact, the Gospels are completely silent on the subject. It is infuriating and inexcusable that so many people who consider themselves Christians have used their faith to justify their bigotry. And as a minister, I apologize to everyone here who has been harmed by so-called Christians who have persecuted you and attempted to ostracize you from religious communities. Such actions are hateful, and they're wrong, and they should not have happened. Anti-LGBTQ rhetoric from the Christian right from several decades ago often included the phrase, the gay agenda. The idea was that gay people had a surreptitious, hidden agenda to hoodwink and corrupt the straight white youth of America. An absurd and ridiculous notion because, as we all know, the straight white youth of America have demonstrated time and again they're perfectly capable of corrupting themselves. And for the record, if there is a gay agenda, I support it wholeheartedly. In a newspaper column on this subject, Jennifer Finney Boylan, a transgender author and journalist, wrote, "I hear a lot about the gay agenda in my work as an advocate for LGBTQ people. Sometimes I hear that we are agitating for special rights, which, let's be honest, is true. I do want special rights. I want the special right, for instance, to not be beaten or murdered by ignorant bigots. At least 15 transgender women have been killed so far this year for the crime of being themselves. I want the special right not to be fired from my job. In 28 states, it's perfectly legal to terminate an employee because you don't like the gender of the person that he or she is in love with. In others, gay employees are protected, but trans ones aren't. In some states, it's even illegal for local governments to pass or enforce anti-discrimination laws. I want the special right," she says, "not to be homeless. In this country, an estimated 1.6 million young people experience homelessness each year. 40% of them are LGBTQ. A third of the homeless queer young people ran away from home because they faced physical, emotional, or sexual abuse. Boylan goes on, I want the special right to be able to turn on the television or go to the movies and see maybe just once a person like myself on screen. I mean, someone other than a murder victim in a crime show or a straight cisgender actor getting a trophy honoring his bravery for pretending ineptly to be someone like me. Or trans people being interviewed on talk shows as if gender transition is something as distant as the moon and they are transsexual Buzz Aldrins. I want the special right to open the newspaper and not have to read one more clever think piece in which the humanity of people like me is held up for public debate. What I want above all is the special right to be left alone and to be considered just half of one more unextraordinary American couple. Jennifer Finney Boylan continues saying, there's a monument near the tip of Cape Cod, a tower that honors the pilgrims who came to this country seeking, well, special rights. The special right to worship as they pleased, the special right to be free from want, the special right to be free from ignorance and fear. Just shy of 400 years later, LGBTQ Americans and their families still seek that freedom. In case you think that the struggle is over, that LGBTQ Americans and their families have actually achieved freedom and equality under the law, let me remind you that LGBTQ rights are in fact under assault at this moment. Last month, Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee signed into a discriminatory bill to prevent transgender people from using restrooms aligning with their gender identity at any business or place of public accommodation. A few days earlier, Governor Lee signed an anti-transgender student bathroom bill, too. These are the first bathroom bills to be enacted since North Carolina's notorious HB 2 in 2016. Far from being legislative outliers, these new laws are the latest in a series of unprecedented legislative assaults aimed specifically at trans people that have swept state houses this year, officially making 2021 the worst year for anti-LGBTQ legislation in recent history. With more than 20 new laws so far, the number is more than double what we saw in the last 3 years combined. As stated by Alphonso David, the president of the Human Rights Campaign, LGBTQ Americans, and particularly transgender and non-binary people, are not simply living in a state of emergency. They are living in many states of imminent danger. The usual calls to action aren't enough against these threats. We are now firmly in the territory of needing those in positions of authority to actively defy these laws, especially those enforcement agencies and leaders tasked with implementing the unconstitutional and un-American assaults on the civil rights of millions of people. David goes on to say, these bills are searching for a problem that doesn't exist. There simply is not a sudden population explosion of trans people, nor any sort of demand for special or new rights. This is about fairness and equal treatment, and plainly, this is about blatant and shameful partisan political attempts to erase LGBTQ people from existence. While legislators advance these bills to score political points, the consequences for the LGBTQ community, and particularly transgender people, are destabilizing and dangerous. These bills are helping fuel a wave of anti-trans violence. So far in 2021, we are on track to exceed the number of trans and gender nonconforming people murdered in 2020, which was already the deadliest year recorded by the Human Rights Campaign. Alfonso David concludes, despite the majority of voters in the United States opposing these types of laws, including a majority of the Republican voters, extremist legislators continue advancing measures at a breakneck pace. That's why LGBTQ Americans living under the archaic governance of leaders who have found value in devaluing them need more than a tweet of support for their community. They need defiant intervention from employers, educators, healthcare professionals, community leaders, and every American who believes in equality. And not only should unjust anti-LGBTQ state laws be defied and overturned, it's also important to keep an eye on what's going on in the courts. As described in a recent New York Times article, the Supreme Court is expected to rule this month on a case that could upend, in the name of religious freedom, 50 years of progress in the effort to provide support for LGBTQ children in the foster system. Such a decision would be a devastating setback for all children in foster care and set a dangerous precedent that could have broad repercussions. So while we celebrate Pride this month, we're also aware of just how much work is left to be done and just how tenuous and fragile LGBTQ rights are in the United States. We have made great strides as a denomination and as a congregation in becoming more welcoming and inclusive of all, and in many ways we're way ahead of other denominations and congregations. Our rainbow flag serves as both a beacon of inclusion and a symbol of our welcoming intentions. But we still have more work to do to live into our full welcoming potential. My hope and my prayer is that each of us will do what we can, both in small and large ways, to help our congregation become more fully inclusive, more open-heartedly welcoming, and more passionately committed to real and enduring justice for LGBTQ people. In doing so, we'll be fully embodying the spirit of pride as both a party and an uprising. May it be so. Amen. So we're going to sing There Is More Love. Another easy one to sing along with, I think. Any tips on this one, Mary?
No. I gave it all before.
Okay.
Somewhere
More hope. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. More peace. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. More joy. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere. More love. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere.
Our designated offering today will benefit Sisters PGH, which serves transgender and gender nonconforming youth and young adults in Pittsburgh, with a focus on transgender people of color. They provide outreach, trans non-binary education, advocacy, and emergency shelter for trans non-binary youth and adults, with the primary goal of finding affordable housing for people transitioning out of emergency shelters. If you'd like to make a gift via our online giving system, you can do so in one of two ways. You can go to sunnyhill.org and click on the button that says Online Giving, and then follow the instructions. Once you get to the drop-down menu, just choose either Designated Collections if you're giving to Sisters PGH, or 2021 Pledge Collections for payments toward your pledge. You can also give by text at 412-324-3130. Just dial that number using your smartphone and follow the instructions. You can also leave a check or cash in the offering basket on our welcome table at the end of the service today. Thank you so much for your generosity. Please join me in saying the words for extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Before we go, I've been asked to make one announcement related to the auction, which is that we're still selling raffle tickets. We need to sell a bunch more, so if you want to buy any on the way out, just stop by the welcome table and we'll be happy to set you up, and we'll announce a drawing on that at a date soon to be determined. For now, here are our closing words. With gratitude for the freedom to be our true, authentic selves, with grief for those whose pain was unbearable and left us too soon, with the confidence that a sense of community banishes isolation and loneliness, with the rainbow flag flying high, let's wave our flags, a sense of beloved community among us, and the joy that comes from making new connections, may we live the spirit of pride. Go in peace.
Probably also where's that? There's probably going to be a bunch of stuff